Well, here in Germany, the Conservative leader Friedrich Merz has succeeded in getting a motion passed in Parliament calling for sweeping changes to migration and asylum policies. This comes ahead of federal elections on February 23rd, which the Conservative CDU are predicted to win. Merz got the votes for the motion with the support of the far-right AfD. The measures include turning away all asylum seekers at the borders and withdrawing citizenship from dual nationals convicted of serious crimes. The migration debate has picked up pace following a deadly attack by a rejected asylum seeker in the southern city of Aschaffenburg that killed 2 people.
A possible turning point in the German parliament and a defeat for the minority government of Greens and Social Democrats led by Olaf Scholz. The Bundestag passed a controversial motion introduced by Conservative opposition leader Friedrich Merz to curb irregular migration. But Merz only got his way by accepting the votes of the far-right AfD, an historic first in the German Bundestag. Merz said he regretted the move but was left with no choice.
Given the choice of continuing to allow the red-green minority here in the German Bundestag to interpret and make decisions on asylum and immigration policy, or to do what is irrefutably necessary in this matter, I choose and we choose the latter path.
Entscheide ich mich und entscheiden wir uns für diesen letztgenannten Weg.
While the proposal is non-binding, many fear it may have repercussions, as it could pave the way for the AfD to play a greater role in decision-making in future. AfD leader Alice Weidel attacked Merz for lacking credibility.
Do you seriously believe, Mr. Merz, that you can make the citizens believe things will improve while still cozying up to the Greens and the Social Democrats and committing to a coalition with them?
Just minutes before the vote, Chancellor Scholz also landed a blow on Merz.
Just 3 weeks ago, you gave your word on television that your party would not sell its soul by cooperating with the AfD. You tied your political fate to this promise. Many citizens trusted in that and in your word. But what are these words worth now?
Today's victory of the Conservatives could come at a cost, as it was the far right celebrating the loudest.
DW political correspondent Matthew Moore joins me now with more on this. Matthew, Chancellor Scholz warned Conservative leader Friedrich Merz that it would be an unforgivable mistake to pass this motion in Parliament with the help of the AfD. Explain to our viewers what makes such cooperation so controversial.
Yeah, it's worth taking a step back, actually, Terry, because since the AfD, the far-right Alternative for Germany, entered the Parliament in 2017, there's been a convention. It's not written down anywhere, but there's been a political convention that the other parties would not allow themselves to be held kind of, if you like, would not allow themselves to work with the AfD, would not seek majorities with the AfD, would not allow things to pass through Parliament, motions, laws, with AfD votes. This has been kind of known as the firewall. And right up, and what it means is that we know government cooperation with the AfD, and this is especially true at the national level. And this is really, until yesterday, this has meant that AfD's votes in Parliament have been meaningless. That's all changed now because this motion yesterday passed. And for a motion on such a highly kind of charged subject like migration to pass with AfD votes really is quite a significant moment in German modern history. And what's interesting is that you heard Olaf Scholz there in the piece, and last night he was saying that this is a bad sign for Germany. And he actually said that, you know, he's lost trust in Friedrich Merz. He said that up until a few weeks ago, he had trust that he was a man of his word when it came to cooperation with the AfD, and now he no longer trusts what Friedrich Merz has to say.
Now, Friedrich Merz has rejected accusations that he has broken the long-standing German political taboo against working with the far right. How does he explain his actions, Matthew?
So Friedrich Merz is leading in the polls, and he basically sees that this is an issue that voters care about, migration. And he said last week, after a terrible attack on a child in Aschaffenburg in southern Germany, it was carried out by someone who didn't have the right to be in Germany. He said that he was going to tackle this issue once and for all. And he said, it's my way or the highway. We're going to pass this through. We're going to go ahead on my political future will be staked on this. I don't care who follows me. And he said, though, last night the tone was slightly different. He said he regretted that it passed with AfD votes, and he said that he'd really sought a majority of a majority in the Democratic centre. Now, he insists that he did not cooperate with the AfD on this, that if just so happens they vote and they agree on certain motions, then so be it. And he's insisting that he will not govern with the AfD. The problem that he has is that a few weeks ago he said that he wouldn't allow accidental majorities with the AfD to pass through Parliament, and now that has just happened. And so people are starting to question whether they can believe Friedrich Merz.
What about the motion that passed in Parliament, Matthew? What kind of policies is Merz proposing, and are they likely to go into force?
So, yeah, it's just worth underlining. Yesterday was not a law, it was a motion, it's a declaration of intent. And what it did was it gave us a real sense of Friedrich Merz's his vision. He wants, if he becomes Chancellor, he wants to basically have permanent border controls on Germany's borders. That would allow him, he says, to turn back people trying to claim asylum at Germany's borders with EU neighbours. A huge step for a kind of change in the law, which his critics say is actually in breach of EU and German law. It's unworkable. He also says he wants to detain people who are due to be deported in detention centres. There are some 240,000 people, Terry, in Germany who are due to be deported, and so that would require massive infrastructure. And his opponents say this is politically unfeasible, but he's saying the German public want us politicians to deal with this issue, to tackle it. Now, he has to work a way to find a majority for this in German Parliament, and it looks very, very tough to get that at the moment without AfD votes. But there'll be an election in a few weeks, and we shall see whether Friedrich Merz's gamble pays off.
Matthew, thank you very much. DW political correspondent Matthew Moore there.